We're here today with Ralph Edwards, Managing Director and President of Professional Home Inspections, Inc., to talk to us today about professional home inspections and why you may need them. Now, one of the things I want to talk to you today about was the 10 most common problems that people can encounter in buying a resale home. Maybe you can take us through some of those issues.
Well, this is data that was compiled by the associations of home inspection related in North America, and this is real. The number one cause of wet basements and the number one defect that we encounter is grading around the home, where the foundation walls, the perimeter walls I should say, the earth is sloping to the wall, thereby permitting water to run directly down those foundation walls, whereas it should be sloped away. And as the house ages, the original damp-proofing bitumen tar that was applied to the walls is beginning to fade and dissipate. So it becomes all that more important to manage on the upside and keep water away from the walls. But that is the number one defect. It causes more grief than anything else.
And what would be the sign that there's a grading problem in terms of an outside inspection?
It's easy. A client simply has to look at the side of the house, for example, standing at the front, looking down the south side or the left side, and simply observing, is the soil sloping away from my foundation wall or is it sloping to it? It's that simple.
And we were involved in a transaction where there was a grading foundation problem, and there was a real telltale sign there. There was a dead giveaway. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about that one?
Well, I think that was a patio that the patio slabs were sloping distinctly toward the wall to the point of about a 4-inch drop, and it was diverting water directly down the foundation wall. And on the interior of the house, the drywall on the inside was wet, which we discovered by using our electronic moisture meter, and it ended up in removal of that wall finish and completely redoing it. And of course, it makes quite a mess.
How about number 2 on the list?
Number 2 is electrical. There seems to be no end of home handymen who will attempt to do things electrically they shouldn't. We find with great regularity double tapping in the breaker panels. We find wiring that is running through the house that is not well secured and offers the potential for children to perhaps hit it or grab it and shake it, which means it could be chafed and the casing broken or compromised, which could lead to an arc fault. We find people have not upgraded the electrical outlets to the side of the kitchen sink to GFCI types, where if an electric kettle or a toaster is pushed into a sink of water, it immediately shuts off the electrical power. It's a very inexpensive upgrade, $20. The homeowner can do it himself if he can read the directions, and it's well worth it. And we recommend that wherever it's needed. Stephen, number 3 in the list of most commonly found defects is roof damage. And I should explain that when a builder builds a new home, they typically install 15-year shingles, meaning that at approximately 15 years, they're going to need to be replaced. Recognize the shingles that are facing the west and south slopes of the house, or those exposures, are going to deteriorate the fastest because they get more sunlight. So frequently people will look at their home, and they're looking at the north slope or the east slope, and they think, well, the shingles look great. Well, I'll go around and look at the back, or look at the opposite side, and you may find a considerable difference. The shingles are beginning to curl, and that's a good indication that you've got to think about reshingling. But above all, never, never take the chance of letting a roof get well beyond its age, because a wet roof is a real mess. You can end up with tremendous problems in the interior, with ceilings collapsing, and a lot of further damage. And getting the roof replaced on a frequency that's, say, 15 to 20 years, matching the cycle of their life expectancy, is the right thing to do. Okay?
What's the next one on your list?
Stephen, the 4th most recognized defect that we uncover is the HVAC, or heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems. And where I'm referring primarily here is older furnaces that are of minimum efficiency, 55 or 60%. Yes, they're still running after 20 or 25 years. But we encourage people now, with the tremendous increase in the cost of the energy, to upgrade those furnaces to at least a minimum 80 or 82% mid-efficiency unit, and hopefully even go for the ultra-high efficiencies, which are 96.6% efficient, direct vent to the outside, and direct fresh air input, which gives you a combination of the best air quality in your home, the most comfortable heating and response time from your furnace, and of course the highest efficiency, therefore the lowest heating cost.
In some of these older furnaces, could there be problems with the quality of air in the home?
Well, the older furnaces get their air supply in the room they're in. Okay, so if it's stuck in a corner of a basement and it's walled up really tight and that furnace doesn't get a good fresh air supply, then that in fact is the air that you're going to heat or cool and supply to the rest of your house. So I often say this to a client: imagine if you're frying onions down here in the basement beside this old furnace. You're going to smell them upstairs. The newer direct fresh air vent furnaces do not rely on the air in the immediate area. It comes in directly from the outside. The fifth one is really a catch of a number of things that we refer to as deferred maintenance. Just this morning I was inspecting a home, and there was a lot of deferred maintenance, and by that I mean broken vents on the exterior for the dryer vent or the kitchen fan exhausts, old galvanized east trough that hadn't been replaced and is leaking, soffit damage maybe from a ladder in some time in the past, spalling of brick where people haven't been removing snow from the walls and it allows it to deteriorate, wood on exterior window frames and at posts and base of porch posts and things of that nature where the wood's beginning to rot because it hasn't been kept well painted. All of that kind of general exterior maintenance, if it's deferred, it's the old pay me now or pay me later story. It's cheaper to pay me now because in the long run, if you defer this kind of work, it ends up costing more and it can lead to even further damage downstream. Structurally related problems, we do not see often a lot of cases where a house is proverbially going to fall down. And I often say to a client, when did you ever see one? And the answer usually, of course, is never. Well, we don't really have a problem with our houses collapsing. That's certainly true. It is possible, though, for people to start to remove wall sections and supporting columns in the basement. Often people will move the steel post to make room for a bigger billiard table or something, and they don't seek good advice, first of all, as to how to do it. And that can lead to serious deflection in the supporting structure above and sagging. And next thing you know, you see sagging and disjointed window frames and door frames, etc. So while we don't see a lot of that, we're certainly very much looking for it.
What about people who are buying a condominium apartment? Do they need a home inspection?
Well, often no, especially if it's a newer building. I think generally if the building is within, say, 5 years old, they probably don't. If the building is 20 or 25 years old, they probably should, because the homeowner's had a window of opportunity there to do a lot of things, some of which perhaps he shouldn't have. Recognize in our newer high-rise condo buildings, these are all concrete reinforced. Your interior walls are the same, and it's difficult for the condo owner to really make any changes, and he really can't without the permission of the condo authority and probably the municipality and even the architect. So condos certainly present less of a risk, particularly in the high-rise type. A townhouse, row house situation, different story. We'd encourage anybody buying one of those to have them inspected. The advantage going forward for the buyer is that, especially new first-time buyers, a townhouse can be a very good first step, because if there is something wrong with the roof or something wrong with the exterior of the house, the condo's there to help share with them the cost of correcting that. But definitely people do things inside condos and townhouses that they shouldn't, with the wiring, with the structure, that we find regularly.
What about newer homes, newly built homes, homes that are maybe a year old or so? Do they need a home inspection?
I think a year is when we should inspect them. When people phone us and ask us, I'm buying a brand new home, I'm taking the PDI next Thursday or whatever, I tell them, you know what? Call us in 10 months. You'll get better value for the fee because the showers will have been used, the furnace will have been running, the air conditioning, the sinks and faucets. You'll have seen the wood dry out in the house, the floors will have settled. All these things will have happened. And just prior to doing your first year Tarion report to the builder and to Ontario New Home Warranty, which is Tarion, that's the better time in our view to have it inspected.
And why don't you tell us a little bit about how one of our clients or viewers of this DVD, how should they go about choosing a home inspector?
Well, good thing you asked that question because I happen to have the answers. There's 10 of them. I won't repeat them all, but I'll just give you some of the top ones. We suggest, does your home inspector actually have real personal experience in residential and or industrial construction? Or was he maybe a former used car salesman or an early retiree who bought a franchise? Does your home inspector measure the quality of the service he provides by asking his clients to complete a quality questionnaire? And can he provide references from past clients? And what percentage of his business is actually derived from referrals provided by happy customers and industry professionals? Does he provide digital photos as a permanent record of the condition of the home and the appliances included to provide you with an excellent communication tool? Did he graduate from Canada's foremost home inspection training institute, or was he trained by one of the most experienced home inspectors in the country, or did he buy his credentials by buying a franchise? Does he devote all the time you need? Do you feel rushed? What does his referrals say? What do they give you in the way of feedback? Does he use state-of-the-art tools such as moisture meters, gas detectors, laser thermometers, telephoto lenses to reduce the risk of an error? And does he offer air quality testing for mold, radon gas, asbestos, or lead? Does he offer free follow-up consultation on any construction or building-related issue you might encounter? And does he have the skills to explain to you so you understand it? And does he teach you, when he's with you, how the house was built so you understand what you're buying?
Now, if somebody wants to contact you, Ralph, how can they do that?
Dial the phone number, 905-789-5577.
And your website?
www.prohomeinspect.com.
Thanks a lot, Ralph.
You're welcome.